the truth becomes a casualty. Many people are not interested in the truth. Many people are not interested in the niceties of refinement. Many people are not interested in drilling down and properly understanding some of what is put before us. And in this space, it becomes almost dangerous for, our total existence. It's as if we are in an existential crisis of sorts. We have in front of us a massive report from the Integrity Commission of Jamaica. And I must tell you that there are a lot of things in this report that give me an awful lot to be concerned about. Apart from the questions that I will pose, which I must, having read substantial portions of the report, I think there are portions of it about which the leader of the country, the Prime Minister, should be extremely concerned. I think he needs to be concerned because, in my mind, Prime Ministers must be seen to be above reproach. We do desire them to be near unblemished as possible. And hopefully, if they are to be blemished, they must be blemished by facts, near irrefutable facts. But in this particular century where facts are almost subjective, which is quite sad, a lot of people will suffer serious reputational harm and perhaps cannot recover politically. It is my hope that, institutions and individuals and their reputations can survive this century, but I honestly don't know how it will go. But specifically to the report of the Integrity Commission, the things that concern me relate firstly to credibility and perhaps trust issues that may arise concerning the Prime Minister as a result of some of what is contained in the Integrity Commission report. But crucially, I think there are so many gaps, so many unexplained gaps in this particular report from my reading that I do desire a lot more from the Commission. One of the first points, which is not, and I'm not going to rank them in terms of major or minor, I've heard the National Integrity Action raise concerns about whether the Prime Minister spoke to us truthfully when he did, when he said that he'd searched far and wide and couldn't find information on anyone within his party who was being investigated by the Integrity Commission. But yet still, we have from the Integrity Commission a chronology of events, and we see where the Prime Minister was notified about an investigation. Having read the report, I note that there were, from 2022, there was one investigation commenced, and that investigation was not to do with illicit enrichment. That investigation started on September 30, 2022, and the investigation arose, we are told, from concerns about the Prime Minister's statutory declarations. We are told by the Commission, the Director of Investigation, that the Prime Minister was notified on the 10th of January 2023, and he was served a notice to attend an interview. On the 12th of January 2023, the Prime Minister was interviewed without an attorney. And based on all the information supplied, we understand from this report that that investigation closed in February of 2023. So that first investigation, it appears, took 5 months. A final investigation report, we understand, was submitted to the commissioners. But the Director of Investigation tells us that that report, which it submitted to the commissioners, was not tabled in Parliament. And I would love to understand, where is this report, and why wasn't that report, which ended on the 19th of February 2023, not tabled in Parliament? Then it appears from my reading that something happened between the 19th of February, when that first investigation concerning the statutory declarations ended, and the 2nd of May 2023. We do not know what happened between that period, but what we know is that a second investigation commenced on the 3rd of May 2023, when a referral was received from the commissioners pursuant to section 14(5) of the Corruption Prevention Act. That's what the DI tells us. When I say DI, I speak of the Director of Investigation. That particular section is the section that deals with illicit enrichment. But remember, all we're told here is that the matter was referred by the commissioners to the Director of Investigation. And additionally, the investigation was pursuant to not only the illicit enrichment provision, but a section 43(2) Integrity Commission Act. And that section deals with knowingly making a false statement in a declaration, or knowingly giving a false information at an inquiry hearing conducted by the Director of Investigation. So the question is, how and on what basis? What happened between the 19th of February 2023 and the 2nd of May 2023 that caused the commissioners to refer the Prime Minister to the Director of Investigation for investigation into illicit enrichment? And this is very important. The Integrity Commission tells us that it notified the Prime Minister by a letter from the Director of Investigation on the 5th of May 2023 about this investigation. It does not provide us with a copy of this letter. And the copy of the letter is important because we have credibility issues now with the Prime Minister, and we need to know exactly what he knew and when. And the only way we can decide exactly why he answered in the way he did is if we are presented with the letter sent from the Director of Investigation, or whomsoever it went to, from the Integrity Commission. We are also told that the Prime Minister was updated by a letter dated the 26th of May 2023. What? Why is it that we have not seen a copy of that letter either? This is what the appendix is supposed to be for. Then we are also told on the 23rd of June 2023 that there was a letter from the Prime Minister's attorneys, which was received by the Director of Investigation. What was this letter about? In fact, when I hear of a letter from attorneys for any individual coming in, I think this individual must be taking issue with a particular procedure. That's what I thought instantly upon seeing that the attorney entered the dialogue. And I find support for this position later down in the report at about page 135, where I note that the Prime Minister said objections were raised by attorneys, but we don't know the subject of the objection. From what the Prime Minister is quoted as saying, it appears to me that when they requested specific expenses of the Prime Minister, I deduce from the objection as quoted that the Prime Minister was saying, I complied with your request by submitting information in the schedule, which is a part of the Integrity Commission Act. And my attorneys have advised me that this is the form I'm supposed to use and perhaps no other. And I pause on this because I wonder if an attorney takes a particular course on behalf of a client and raises an objection before any body, including the Integrity Commission, is it right for that particular body to later say that the information they sought from me, I have not complied with their request, when the reason for my compliance is on the basis of an objection taken by my attorneys? Yeah? And the only way we can know for sure exactly what the Prime Minister was talking about when he's quoted by the Director of Investigation about an objection by the attorney is if the Integrity Commission releases the letter from the attorney dated, they say, the 23rd of June 2023. But I come to a particular date which I understand to have been the 17th of August 2023, when the Prime Minister was asked about, well, he knows who are the people who are being investigated for illicit enrichment by the Integrity Commission. And based on the excerpt we heard, he said he asked far and wide, and he doesn't know, couldn't find anybody who's been investigated. Based on the chronology of events as set out by the Integrity Commission's Director of Investigation, it appears that by that time, the Prime Minister knew, and in fact the Prime Minister had been summoned to an interview with the Director of Investigation. I will solidify my thoughts on this particular issue when the Integrity Commission releases all of the letters that pass between itself and the Prime Minister. And when I say all of the letters, I mean letters from whether it's the Director of Information and Complaints, or the Director of Investigation, or the commissioners, or any individual. Those documents should be released. But on to the big matter, which is the matter of illicit enrichment. It seems to me that the Commission, having embarked on an investigation led by the Director of Investigation, it concluded that when the Prime Minister's assets, liabilities, income, and so forth were calculated, they could not find enough to establish that the Prime Minister illicitly enriched himself. In fact, they've given us a near treatise on illicit enrichment. They spent about 14 paragraphs of the report dealing with illicit enrichment, taking us to Hong Kong, to the UK and so forth, and telling us that these are the things that need to be established for this particular crime to be made out. They tell us that it's something that is calculated based on mathematical precision. So the investigator needs to first examine what is the quantum by which this person is alleged to have illicitly enriched himself. And if you cannot find the quantum, establish it, you don't even begin to make out this alleged crime. The Integrity Commission is empowered statutorily to cooperate with other entities in whatever investigations it's undertaking. So from the get-go, within the context of this law, it signed an MOU with the Financial Investigation Division. The Financial Investigation Division is considered a competent authority by the Integrity Commission Act. They're supposed to work together on matters they deem relevant. So too the Tax Administration Jamaica. So I don't expect a cop-out at the end of any investigation by the Integrity Commission, where it concludes its investigations and then tells us it wishes now to refer the matter to the FID or to the TAJ, not when it can, within the course of the investigation, cooperate with those entities, and those entities are sworn to secrecy. I've got to go to a break. The Commission is empowered to cooperate with other bodies. Section 7 of the Integrity Commission Act lays out in full how the cooperation is to go. The Integrity Commission wants to cooperate with, or the body must cooperate. In fact, the Integrity Commission can get an order to force the body to comply. When I'm talking about the body, that section goes on to list and to define some entities called competent authorities, to include the Financial Investigation Division and Tax Administration Division. So if and when there is the need to call in any of these bodies, the Commission shall disclose competent authority information or document necessary to assist the authority in investigation and the prosecution, and that authority has to keep that information confidential. So when we're dealing with illicit enrichment investigation now, and we have a lot of teachings, as I mentioned, from the Integrity Commission, 14 paragraph treaties, bold, underline, they give us. And then they tell us that when they apply to the Prime Minister's investigation, they say applying the source and application of analysis methodology. The Director of the Investigation inquired into Mr. Holness's assets as declared for 2018 to 2022, with particular emphasis on 20 to 22. The DI was, however, unable to arrive at a final conclusion in respect of illicit enrichment by virtue of the fact that he was not provided with a schedule of Holness's personal expenses over the relevant period, as well as the unresolved questions around the operations of the connected companies. I find this to be an insulting conclusion for the people of Jamaica. Insulting because this is the very thing you shouldn't come and tell us now, after a year and a half of investigating the Prime Minister for illicit enrichment, when you are empowered by law to cooperate with entities who can assist. On top of that, you tell us in your report that the Prime Minister's attorneys took objection, and they seem to have taken objection to the Prime Minister providing a schedule of expenses. And if counsel took objection on a point of law, how can you say that the individual being investigated has refused from providing you with the information? What is the legal bona fides of counsel's objection? And that's what you tell us in the report. I'm going to give you the page very soon. I think it's about page 135. You will see when the Prime Minister said, I have complied, and my attorney took objection, and I stand on that objection. But I go back to my initial point. You cannot give us this 170-odd page document and some crucial letters passing between you, the Prime Minister, the Prime Minister's lawyer, and so forth. You haven't given that to us, right? Anyway, when I look at all of what they have provided, they couldn't conclude that the Prime Minister unlawfully enriched himself. And they look at his personal dealings. So what did they do? They lifted the veil of the Prime Minister's companies. And this matter of lifting the veil is such an interesting legal point. There have been cases decided on it, which are available for a lot of people to read. But the DI tells us that in order to lift the veil, he did so because the Prime Minister said one particular company is used as a holding company for his assets. And he believes he's justified in lifting the veil on that. I'm not so sure about that particular conclusion, because there's a section that they quote about lifting the veil where it needs to be proven or asserted that there's fraud or some wrongdoing that will allow them to do that. But at any rate, they lifted the veil of the companies, and they looped the companies in one now with the Prime Minister. So whatever separate legal personalities companies have in law, they set that aside because they believe under this circumstance there may be it may be merited for the veil to be lifted. But when they lifted the veils of the company and did the calculation, it seems to me that the quantum that they came to, that the Prime Minister seemed to have illicitly enriched himself with for 2022 is approximately 1.9 million Jamaican dollars. In fact, when they commingled company money along with the Prime Minister's personal funds, there was no illicit enrichment, or none could be claimed for 2021. And I need further clarity on that, because a lot of figures are put in the particular report. But when you look at the substantive one, which comes, I think, page 164 or so of the report, you will see that when the company's assets and so forth are added in with the Prime Minister's, we are talking of a figure of 1.93 million that is considered unexplained growth. And even if they are of the view that the Prime Minister benefited in one instance where a charity, for example, money from the charity was invested in a bond, and which he eventually got because the money was transferred to his personal account, I don't know that that could change the unexplained growth quantum that they have cited in their report. So the bottom line for me right now is that this is the entity that is supposed to investigate in cooperation with others. It is completely unacceptable to me that at the end of your investigation, you are telling us you have not found enough to conclude that he has unlawfully enriched himself, because you have not engaged the people that you can engage by statute to assist with the investigation. and even having engaged somebody else to do some forensic accounting, that individual formed the view that there was nothing untoward in what they have investigated about the Prime Minister. And again, that crucial report from that individual, why is it not shared with the people of Jamaica? Those documents have to be shared. Integrity Commission, you cannot show us, you cannot tell us rather, you need to show us how and why you have come to the conclusions that you have by putting all cards on the table. And I don't believe that you have. I actually think that the Financial Investigation Division can pick up and do whatever it wants to now. I don't even know that it needs a referral, particularly from the FID, I beg your pardon, from the Director of Investigation or anybody. I think anybody can refer the matter to the Financial Investigation Division, but it shouldn't come down to this. You should have worked with the authority and provided us with the information that you are by statute supposed to provide. So what is the reason you have chosen this course? I don't know. But something is completely off with this. The Prime Minister has a lot of questions to answer. But I don't know that the questions should not have come over a year ago from the appropriate people who should have done the proper investigation. We keep going through because it's not an easy document to read. Yeah, could have been better organized and so forth, but we keep going through. But for right now, I can't seem to make up my mind on how to really accept this particular report because so much is absent from it. And I certainly would like those letters, those documents, to help me understand more of why things are the way they are. We're up on a